I'd like to start with a question. During this situation that we find ourselves in, how many of us have felt fear and overwhelm either to begin with or are still feeling it? Yeah? We are facing unprecedented times and we are facing great fear. But we are also facing a massive opportunity for change and growth. And what I'd like to do this evening is to share with you a 3-step strategy that has helped me through this situation. And before I go through the strategy, what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about fear and what's happening. And have any of you read the Chimp Paradox? I know we've mentioned this before, and this is by Professor Steve Peters. And in this book, he talks about our ego self, and he likens our ego self to a chimp. And when a situation comes to us that is change and fearful, the first part of us, the ego, our ego wants us to be safe. It wants certainty. And so when there's change coming on, it acts like a chimp and it goes bananas. And it's that part of us that takes that information to begin with. And to be honest, at this moment, we've got a lot of chimps that are literally going ape at this moment. So this 3-step strategy is going to help settle our chimp down and help us to make the most of this time. But we can't create when we're feeling fearful, when we are uncertain. So what we need to do is sort our chimp out. And my chimp is called Fred. And when all this situation kicked off, Fred kicked off. And 12 years ago, I was in the mortgage industry when that whole industry collapsed. And Fred, who I wasn't aware of then, basically went ape on me for 6 months. And those 6 months were filled with fear. They were filled with stories in my head that everything would go wrong. But none of these fears came to pass. But what happened for me was that whole 6 months, I was in fear and uncertainty, and I did nothing to make an opportunity of that time. And I was determined this time that it wouldn't happen again. So I said to Fred, we need to chat. I got Fred at the side of me and I said, you want to feel a bit more certain and you want some plan. Do you want a 90-day plan? And he looked at me, because Fred's a he, I don't know why, but he's a he. He looked at me and went, I want more. I said, I tell you what, let's do 3 steps for this 90-day plan. Are you with me? He looked at me uncertainly, but went, go ahead. So I said, okay then, step number 1, strategy number 1. I call it the state of the nation. I said, and that's you and me, Fred. And this is about our finances. This is about how we feel we're going to survive in this situation. Because if we don't feel we're going to survive and we're panicking, then we're not going to be able to create. In this strategy, we look at our finances. For this 90 days, for this situation, what our outgoings are. Well, there's not going to be so many. Like we've said, we're not travelling quite so much. We're not having petrol and all those sort of things. Who's having a haircut these days? We're not going out, we're not going down to the pub, so our expenses are considerably less. Then we look at our income. And when we look at that, for most people, we are actually going to be okay. It's not how we want it to be, but we're going to be okay. And for those people where it is as bad as they think it might be, then at least they can take some action. So when we sort out this state of the nation and the financial aspect, then at least we can start to feel a little bit better and the chimp feels a bit better. Strategy number 2 then is calm down and look after yourself. And we've mentioned earlier, meditation is absolute key. And I can't go into lots of meditation here, but ask Mr. Google. And there's also Headspace and Insight Timer Meditation, and they are excellent. There are other things that we know we should be doing, but we might not do them to the best, but why not now? Exercise, sleep, eating well, supplements. Greg Braden is a guy that I follow, and he's asked this really good question. Do you love yourself enough to have the discipline to give your body what it needs? Because if we do, if we have optimal health, we can fight any virus because we're healthy. Strategy number 3, once we're calmed down and settled, then we can look forward and create. What are the opportunities? Are we reevaluating our life, our work, our relationships? We can grow and change and look at what matters. Are we going to look at a new skill, control our health, or renegotiate relationships? We can take action and we can measure that action. We have the power and responsibility to change our lives. And to summarise then, to keep our chimps safe, we need a 90-day plan. We need to look at the state of the nation. We need to calm down and look after ourselves. And we need to look for the focus and the opportunity that we have right now. We have a choice to have fear and overwhelm or focus and opportunity. I'll ask you, what is your choice? Master Toastmaster.
Max, excellent. Thank you very much.